Now today we're looking forward to Christmas. Lots to share, lots to talk about. I'm going to show you how to moss a ring ready for a lovely door garland. We have moss here that you can buy in the bags, garden centre, maybe Hobbycraft, or you could gather it off your own lawn if you've got some. 2 wreath rings, 10-inch and a 12-inch, and I think I'm going to do the 12-inch today. There's another option which I'll just quickly pull that forward. I've done using an Oasis ring, so there's a few thoughts on that. Doesn't always work too well on your front door. If it's windy and things and it knocks, then this will eventually shatter, the Oasis. So these are pretty stable and there won't be any fallout, hopefully. So we start with a reel wire, and I'm just starting it off by winding it around a few times onto the ring, like so. It might be a little bit noisy, I think, but I'll do my best. So now your moss, we gather it and make what I would call small sausage-like rolls of it, and the important thing is to pull tight going over. You're obviously going to go left or right depending on your left or right-handed. Again, each time gather it up, roll it together, and then roll it into that. Pull tight. More moss. Roll it in there again. You want it all the same thickness all the way round, really, if you can. Roll again. Pull tight. This is quite fresh moss, which I have gathered myself with a rake. But as I say, you can buy it in bags. Pull tight. Again, meet it up. Roll round, pull tight. You can see how quick this comes together. Keep rolling round. Pull tight. Just a little tiny bit more to go in there. That was well measured, wasn't it? Gosh. Bit of guesswork. A little tiny bit in there. Pull tight all the time until you now come back to the join, overlap with your wire. Keep pulling. Don't pull too hard because you will actually probably snap it and then you'll have to start again. So I've got to there, a good join on it. I tend to go round, pull through, so you're making a little bit of a knot on it. Cut off and then place your wire back into there. And then to trim it, be careful, just take off if there's any stray pieces. And that's your moss ring ready to go. And now in a moment we're going to put on the foliage and let you see how to create your lovely door garland. Right, now moving on. I've been out and collected lots of different, you want some interesting foliages, all evergreen, fir tree of some sort. You can buy it from a friendly florist who would sell you the fir foliage, or you might have a friend or family member that's got some in the garden. And there's lots of different textures going on here. And then to cut it up, I'm just cutting it into sizes that I'm able to use. And then I'll get cracking and show you how to do it. Now, you're rejoining this wire that you again can buy probably from Hobbycraft or any craft shop. There's also string as an option, but I tend to prefer this because it does rust into the work and it'll hold everything together. So I'm just going to join it back into the back and go around a couple of times, and then I'm placing my foliage over and I'm winding round. And you want to go round the sides, making sure that, that you cover the moss as you go. So 2 or 3 little bits on there, wind round, and you'll be working backwards because you need to cover up where you've been. And add another texture, slightly different colour, and bind on. Little tiny pieces to fill in where you might have got a gap. These can all be put right at the end. Pull tight. Let's get another texture going on in the middle there. Another piece there. And you'll see in a minute that we'll be able to cover up any gaps or things before we get going with the embellishments. Pull tight. But you're only adding it and wiring it at the end. You're not going back up here because you want some of this to sort of splay out and become more interesting in your design. Some of them you'll see bits of stalk showing, but we'll soon cover all that up. And if there's anything at the end that is still sticking out or showing, I'll show you how to hide that as well. Some of them are a little bit too long, but in that case I still wouldn't throw that away. I'd put 2 together. And again, it's only the stalk end that you are adding. And there is a back and a front also to fir tree. If I show you, that's the front, that's the back. That bit that's a little bit long, a little bit of that, and then put that back down there, and that one down there, and hide that under there. And again, it's only the stalks that we're catching, but hard and pull tight. If they're too long, cut them into smaller pieces. Again, add another texture to it. Pull tight. A little bit more that side. Too long. So bring it, turn it over. And you can see that you're making it more of a statement. Sit it on the top of that piece. Now I'm just going to show you how to wire a few pieces before we get going, and also how to make your your ribbon embellishment for the top. So these, as you can see here, I've got some lovely oranges and limes, and I'm just going to show you how to wire these. You need, and please be careful with your fingers and everything else, a pointed pair of scissors, I would suggest, and you're literally going through the middle of the orange, like so. And with one of these 19 gauge straight wires, we're going to go through and twist against the other leg. We've got a long wire and we've twisted round. So that's how to wire the oranges. Fir cone, again a wire, and you go as low as you can through the scales and push your thumb in so that you're going in as close as you can, like so, and then you will come back, you can see that, to meet there and then twist tight, and that is raring to go. Lotus heads, if we were using them, this is just to show you another embellishment you could use. I go through the back of there again, they're quite crispy, and then probably through a couple of inches maybe. Pull them down like that, pinch together, and then with a longer wire go around the stalk, back, down, and that's quite solid. Cinnamon sticks, you can buy these in the bunch like this in a little already done, or you could make your own by cutting cinnamon sticks up, gluing 3 together, and then with a piece of string or something, raffia as I've got in this case, to join them together. So I'm going to go through the back of here, so onto the back of there, through the string or raffia, and pull tight and twist. And there again, that, actually I would glue that now because that's not quite as tight as I'd like it unless I can get it any tighter. Could be having a catastrophe in a minute, or a calamity. I think that'll be alright. So that's that. Bauble. Now lots of us have done this and they swing around like that, so I'm going to help you now to be able to use baubles. Always better to buy the plastic ones, don't go for glass because they're not going to last 5 minutes. So I'm cutting one of these in half, and you're going to have with a hook and straight through. So if it isn't like this, you won't be able to wire it. So that goes through as an anchor inside the bauble, and then we come across almost a bit like a cross, pinch them up like so, and with your thumb and finger hold tight, and the longer leg go around about 3 times, and there you have a bauble. The next little bits are a few of these little foliages which I've cut down into little pieces. The cut off piece at the back, because you can still use the side pieces, and you want this nice finish. So turn it over onto its back, thumb and finger holding the wire, pinch tight, 1, 2, 3. That then is a piece where we can go in and add if the shape is slightly wrong. And I've actually done quite a few just to finish off in a minute. Here, holly, 2 pieces together just to make it a little bit fatter, because one piece is neither here nor there. So a couple of pieces together, turn it on its back, go through, pinching tight with your thumb and finger, 1, 2, 3. That then is quite stable. And finally, we're just going to make a bow for the top. I quite like long tails on it, and I'm working from my roll. So measure the tail in my head. I want, this actually isn't wired ribbon, whereas I've got ribbon here that is wired, which we'll use later on in other things, but this is because I like the tartan. So pinch and the other side pinch so that you've got them equal sized. Back the other way, so my finger and thumb are still in the middle, and that drops down, so I know it's got to come back into the middle. Little tiny bit longer, pinch, and then that one's hanging down, so that comes back to the middle, still holding with my thumb and finger, so there is a middle to this. Another one at the back, pinch, one coming down, pinch, and that's probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 each side. So same again, still got my fingers in the middle, and still got my fingers in the middle. So now I need to cut this off, or if you were panicking at this stage, don't forget that when we discussed what we need for each job, there's always a pair of scissors that are purely for ribbon, because there's nothing worse than not having a nice neat edge. So now I've still not let go with my wire. I go across the middle, let go with my thumb and finger, push with this thumb against there, and twist, and twist, and there is my ribbon to use at the top in a moment. So that's it for now, and then I'm going to embellish it quickly, and you'll join me to see how to do that. Now we've wired everything now, and we've made our bow, so I'm just going to show you how to cover up any gaps that you might have. You might want to make it slightly larger, and you remember how I showed you to wire these, and we go in, that's what the moss is all about, straight through and out the other side, and then back up into the moss itself. And at that point you make sure there's nothing sticking out at the back in the way of a wire, and you bend that down against the side like so. The reason I'm saying afterwards we'll go round again with our hands to make sure that there's no wire sticking out, because this is going to go against somebody's door, and the last thing you want is a scratched front door. Now I'm looking at it very critically and just going here and there where there's an odd space that needs a little bit more foliage. Just remind you again what I'm doing. So there's a cluster, I just go in as far as I can, bend back up both pieces. If you can't quite get it because your fingers, it's too tight, just get it with a pair of scissors or a wire cutter or something. We're not cutting it off, we're bending it back into itself, and then push down like so. A little bit maybe there, through, bend up, and bend up again. And then we're just making sure that it's round, because with everything handmade it changes shape, as I'm sure you can imagine, and you'll know when you come to do this that you'll have to have a little bit of patience and just take your time. That's there's no rush, and at the end of the day the reason that all this is pushed in well and wired on is because if it's going to go on a front door, there's all sorts of weather that it might have to endure. And with a little bit there of this sort of more limey green, up, and then I'm just going to add a little tiny bit of this quite pretty, slightly silver blue fur there, and space it out so that it's making the whole piece interesting. You can see all the different greens, how attractive that almost it looks already. push hard in, bend up both legs. Found another couple of spikes, but we'll go around, as I say, afterwards. Perhaps just have this last one here. I'm going to do this, I think, in 5 sections, so it looks balanced. So I've got 5 pieces of holly. I'm lucky because this is holly with no prickles on it, but unfortunately that's one of the things you have to put up with at Christmas, is holly with prickles. Now I'm going to leave a gap for my bow, so I'm probably going to go there for my bow and try and space this in a 5. So the same as before, push in well, bend up. Bend up. I think that needs moving. So it happens to the best of us. So you can move it, just jiggle it about a bit and then pull it back out if it's not quite in the right place. So I'm going a little bit closer to that other one because I would like 5. There we go. And one more here. Bearing in mind that's where my hand is where my bow is going to go. So I'm going to go lime, straight through in and bend up. And lime again. Another lime. Very pretty, nice little contrast. You can buy these, I would say again, somewhere like Hobbycraft. You'd obviously get them at a wholesale, a flower wholesalers. And one more in this place here. And that actually is a little bit long. That wire must have been a 12-inch instead of a 10. So bend up, and then I'm going to go round now with oranges, opposite the lime. Pull tight. Bearing in mind they're all wired so you can move them if they're not quite positioned where you want them. But they make a nice little show either side of each other. The orange now making it look zingy. You can have all these wired up ready before you even need them. That one I don't like. Go for that one. As in the lemons and limes and oranges and things. Obviously you can't have your foliages wired up too far in advance. But whatever happens, they're going to last. Now I'm going to go for some fir cones. In the mix of things. Straight through, bend up. Another one straight through, bend up. Back into the moss, all the time making sure you're back into the moss. still wired, so can be twisted round if they're not in the right place. And again here. As you can see, everything's coming together. Now I'm going to add a cinnamon, leaving that slightly proud so that I can see it. It's a different texture, slightly different colour, and leave it slightly proud so that you can still, and again they're wired so you can place it where you want. It's got one over here that I just popped a little bit of glue on there to hold the wire in place. Going like that. The last one here. And obviously you can keep going and going with whatever you want to add. You can add ivy to it. There's some nice seed heads out there at the moment. I'm just going to add a bit of red. These are pre-wired, so they will just go in like so. And I'll look at these in a minute. I'll turn that over because that's a little bit strong and my finger won't take it, so bend it back in and there you go. Same again. I'll look at this in a minute and I might take the berries out a little bit more instead of in. I'll just see what I like best. Yeah, I like it like that better. I don't like it like that. So I'm going to take that all wired so it'll do what you want it to do. Take it back in and just one more here. So you can see now how it's coming together. This one just needs to be bent back in. And I've got another wire there that needs bending back in. And then I'm going to add a hook on the back so you know how to make a hook. So I'm going to bend my wire in half. And this is going behind where the ribbon bow is going to go. And I'm going to go straight through with two legs, and then I'm going to bend one wire back that side and one wire back that side. And there I have my hook. And you could tie some ribbon through that hook if you want it as a, like so, or you might just have a nail that it'll go on anyway. And there is my bow going in the top, and the hook is behind this, so it's all central. As I say, we could have used ribbon that has wire in it, but this time I've chosen quite like the sort of relaxed finish to this bow, and pull all your little loops round. And then you can still play with it at this stage, but for now I think that's probably okay. I hope you've enjoyed making this. Obviously you can use anything here. We could have used baubles, all sorts of things. It's just your choice, and obviously your choice of ribbon, and there's lots to choose from out there. But there you go. This is for your front door, and I call them welcome rings, not wreaths, because it's a mixed name really. So welcome rings is what I say. So let's hope you have a fabulous Christmas.